All right. Welcome into the Pharmacist and the Photog Games, Grooves, and Grub. I am the Pharmacist, Dion Spencer, alongside the Photog, Steve Moss. And we're going to shoot the breeze a little bit about the best, like I said last week, to me, the best time of the year, like trumpets sounding. It's football season. We're in full swing now, both college and NFL. I think I enjoy watching college football more than NFL. We can talk about that a little bit later, but there's been some great college football games. And we'll start with one. I wouldn't put it in the great category, but if you're a UK fan, a win is great. And so we got one last night, I guess. That's the good. What are your thoughts?
A win is a win is a win, and I think Mark Stoops will take any kind of win, any way and any method that they get it. Honestly, they were probably playing one of the worst teams. As a buddy of mine, Jeff Drummond, who he said this is probably the worst team, Eastern Michigan, on the planet. They got beat by a team last week from Long Island. I didn't know. I think I've said this to you. I don't think I knew that Long Island had a football team.
No, I didn't know that either.
Nonetheless, Cutter Boley gets the start. We kind of anticipated that. Nothing official from UK, but then, Zach Calzada dinged his shoulder up. Not sure exactly what's going on there. But you kind of had the feeling that this movement was, it was coming. The dissatisfaction from the fan base. Mark Stoops kind of complaining about the quarterback.
Yeah.
What did he say? You got to cut loose with it. Like he knew Calzada was holding back. Stoops having some issues with his offensive coordinator. It just seems like there was a lot of pressure from within for them to go in that direction. And I thought Cutter played well.
Yeah. 12 for 21, 240 yards. He attempted to push the ball into a couple of questionable spots, and thank goodness the EMU defense wasn't able to. I mean, they had a couple hit him right in the chest, or Cutter would have had a couple of interceptions. But it woulda, shoulda, coulda. They didn't happen, and so he had a pretty solid game, 2 TDs.
I was going to say I thought that he made some really good throws. He, as Stoops will say, he left some throws out there. You can tell that he's roommates with Josh Caddis and Hardley Gilmore because those two guys were targeted 4 times each, which was most of anybody out there. Willie Rodriguez, I think, is the 4th roommate.
Yeah,
by the
he
way.
picked up a touchdown.
Yes,
Rodriguez.
And if you're, if you're getting ready to play Kentucky, you might want to take note that those 4 guys are roommates. They're all on the same page and they all like each other. So the quarterback's going to be looking for those guys. Anyway,
they came up. They came up big. Caddis 3 receptions for 61 yards, and that's really good after last week when people were complaining. I think he tallied about 8 yards total. So it was nice to see him get in the ball game a little bit, and he got a touchdown. The running game was pretty solid too. Seth McGowan's kind of setting himself apart from, I think, the rest of the running back.
Agreed.
Patterson, the freshman Patterson, got a lot of carries late in the game and had a solid game, 13 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. But Seth McGowan with going over 100 yards rushing and 3 TDs. I mean, they just kept feeding him the ball, down in the red zone. So.
And Dante Dowdell, the other big back that they brought in, went out with an injury, I think, early in the 3rd quarter, maybe somewhere around in that area. And Stoops said afterwards he took a couple of shots, and they were worried that if he had taken a 3rd shot somewhere on his body, that it could have done some damage, and so they pulled him early. And Stoops thinks that Dowdell will be available, when they play next. The game got off on the right foot. The very first play of the game is a pick.
Yeah.
And the ball ricocheted off of somebody and ended up with, Kentucky ended up with an interception to start the game. So immediately they drive down the field and McGowan scores. And McGowan with 3 touchdowns against Eastern Michigan, which he becomes the first Kentucky running back since Derek Locke to score 5 touchdowns in his first 3 games of the season. And I think that stretches back to like maybe 2015 or 17 or something like that.
It's going back pretty far. I was encouraged that, the offense, Kentucky racked up right at 500 yards offense, and it was almost split down the middle, passing and rushing. So, I mean, I think we need that. The Stoops teams, they like to pound the ball, and that just opens things up then for Boley to maybe move the ball through the air. I liked pretty much everything I saw in that regard. Kicker still, he's solid. 2 for 2 field goals, long of 51, 6 for 6 on his extra points.
The kicking game has been very good through 3 games.
Punting was nice. So those kind of things, all that good. The bad for me is the fact that one of the worst football teams in college football came in and put up 460 yards of total offense on Kentucky's formerly solid defense. I feel like the defense has kind of taken a little bit of a step back these last 6 quarters, maybe.
I tend to think human nature took over. Eastern Michigan comes in, one of the one of the worst teams in all of Division I football. I think human nature. If I'm Kentucky's defense, I do enough to keep them out of the end zone. Eastern Michigan was able to move the ball up and down the field, but they, only 23 points. I understand what you're saying. You want to be sharp. You've got a week now, though, to work on some of that stuff. I don't know that I default, or I don't know that I fault Kentucky's defense a whole lot, just given that. They are playing Eastern Michigan, and I think they just kind of relaxed a lot.
Yeah,
and I think he got 2 or 3 sets of guys in there. So I think he probably played just about everybody over there on the bench.
Yeah, and looking at Eastern Michigan, I texted you during the game. Their quarterback, their freshman quarterback, Noah Kim. I mean, the dude, I thought he looked pretty good. He was 25 for 42 and threw for 330 yards. I can't imagine that he would finish his career at Eastern Michigan University. I mean, because you have 1 or 2 seasons like that, one of the bigger teams, or at least a mid-major, is going to come calling and say, hey, who knows? He could be Kentucky's starting quarterback in about 4 years, as much as we like to go to the transfer portal.
Yeah, Kentucky has traditionally had trouble with a quarterback who is able to move and gets out of the pocket and runs. But again, I'll just say Kentucky gave up 2 scores and that was it.
Yeah.
So, and the most important thing is they got the win. I don't know that anybody really got injured or suffered anything.
Right.
Yeah. So now you've got a week to really get laser focused in on the what really counts is the SEC schedule. So they've got some really tough games coming up. This is a very tough stretch of games, and they're not home again for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, at least. I mean, so we have the bye week, September the 27th. Then we go on the road to currently number 11 South Carolina, but they got absolutely crushed by Vanderbilt yesterday,
and they lost their starting quarterback.
Yeah, Heisman hopeful quarterback went out late second quarter.
Sports goggles guy
with a head injury. So I haven't heard anything on the extent of that. You like to think hopefully it was just got his bell rung a little bit, but when you're dealing with concussion type injuries, that could linger and affect him for a while. And you don't want to wish that on a guy for sure, but that's something Kentucky will have to kind of plan on now, is how to game plan for possibly a different South Carolina team. So
I was going to say the protocol would be he's probably out at least a week, maybe more, depending on what the side effects are. Right. I thought the crowd was good. I was really surprised. Walk in there and there's a pretty decent crowd. I can always tell if it's going to be a good crowd because as I'm driving in on Cooper, you can tell by the number of people who are tailgating, and all the spots were filled. And I was thinking, that's going to be a good crowd. Sure enough, it turns out, there's a lot of empty seats up in the corners, but I thought the student section was good, and overall it was a good crowd. It was a great night for football. It sprinkled a little bit. And if I had to pick one thing to nitpick about, it's the last 93 seconds of the first half.
Yeah, that was
again
rough.
Time management and play calling. I don't understand what Kentucky was trying to do there. And Bush Hamden, on first down throws out a little swing pass that falls incomplete, or maybe it went for a yard or negative yards, I don't remember. And you're going, well, if you're going to run the clock down at that point, or if you're going to call a play like that, why don't you just hand the ball off?
Yeah.
And they ended up punting and gave up 10 points in 93 seconds.
Yeah, and that was when Kim hit on a 60-yard pass play. The guy got behind the defense.
64 yards to be exact.
That's it. Yeah. Like you, I don't understand why they didn't just go ground and pound there and try to run the clock out, or run it down and take a shot at the end zone.
Yeah, throw it downfield, not
Yeah.
all this east-west stuff. Throw it north-south.
Yeah, it's.
I didn't understand that.
That part was a little frustrating. So again, it's been a bugaboo for Coach Stoops. Is the end of half-time management is just it's kind of baffling, really. I mean, and
True.
Having never coached a down of football in my life, I can't really I can't say too much, but I can at least armchair
with the best of them.
Yeah, that's
I got you.
So on to the good games that were going on yesterday. Of course, everybody was pretty hyped about watching Georgia and Tennessee. Number 6 Georgia against number 15 Tennessee, and that game delivered. I mean, it was exciting for sure.
I watched some of it up in the press box before the game, and then watched the end of it on the field. A buddy of mine, Steve Deaton, had his phone out, and so we were watching the overtime. And I told you when I walked in, I'm like, I don't know what Tennessee was thinking there.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, on the way out of the stadium last night at almost 1 o'clock, walked into Mark Stoops, who was hanging out late but getting in his car to go home, and I said, did you see how Josh Heupel lost that game last night? By the way, Tennessee lost in overtime. They missed a field goal when it was tied, chance to win it. And Stoops, if you didn't watch the game, Tennessee had the ball, I think 3rd and 7.
Right.
No. It was third down with 7 seconds to go.
Right.
And all they had to do was bring their kicker on and try a field goal. But instead, they decided they were going to run one more play with 7 seconds to go. And Stoops said that, he thought about it too. He probably would have agreed.
Trying to
hand the ball off and just make sure you center it up so that the kick is, your kicker has the best opportunity there. But instead, they were called for
we got a false start.
Yeah, that's
there.
what it was. Yes, they were called for a false start, backed them up 10 yards, and the kicker kicks it wide right.
No, it wasn't.
And Georgia gets the ball back and scores, sudden death and wins the thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've heard of Tony Basilia, but he is Tennessee's. He's their mouthpiece.
Yeah,
he's got an internet radio show, and when Tennessee loses, that thing is lit. And I wanted so badly to go home last night and listen to it again. I think I may, just to hear the Tennessee fans, because there ain't no angry fan like a Tennessee football fan.
Oh, and I love it.
Tell you,
I love it. There's a handful of teams. I mean, I've made no secret about what I love watching Louisville lose, but man, watching Tennessee lose is right there, almost on the same level. And I saw a pretty funny. A friend of mine sent me a link to a Instagram post today of a guy, Vol fan, Ginger something's his handle. I can't remember. Redhead guy. His beard and everything's about the same color as the Tennessee orange clothes, wow. But he was wearing that and he was saying, Georgia, congratulations, y'all got lucky, just like you got lucky last year. And the year before that, and the 6 years before that. So, yeah, Georgia's got Tennessee's number. And that's just like so many teams had Kentucky's number for all those years, and we struggled. But I felt bad for the kicker for sure. I mean, to miss a 43-yard, potential game-winning field goal.
Yeah, of course.
That's rough. But, high-level game because both teams put up right at 500 yards of offense. And somehow those 500 yards for those two teams seemed a little different from, Kentucky's nearly 500 yards. It looked a lot more competent at times for sure. So that game was great. Speaking of other teams that I like to see lose, I really enjoy seeing Notre Dame football lose just because I get tired of listening to them every year talk about how good they are and they should be a national championship picture. But they typically play 1-2 really high-quality opponents per year, and then, they kind of, weasel their way through the season. And so to see them, get beat by Texas A&M, which is another team I don't really care for, but lesser of two evils there. But, A&M kicks a field goal, 4th and goal with at the 11-yard line. Or that was a game they scored on a touchdown pass. With fourth and goal, threw a nice ball to, I think it was their tight end, right over in the corner of the end zone. He made a great catch, but to see Notre Dame lose, that's nothing wrong with that. Some other games that were
eventually maybe Notre Dame will get into a conference somewhere.
That's the thing, but like
that mystique is long gone.
Well, like my friend was saying, they've played these two good games to start the season, and now they don't play anybody for the most part for the rest of the year. And so at the end of the season, they're going to be like, we've only got 2 losses and it's against these 2 SEC teams. We should get in. Or one SEC team, one ACC team. That's going to be their argument is what'll happen. I'd still rather see a 3-loss team with a just incredible schedule get in, but there's a lot of football to be played before to start talking about who gets in and all that. But Miami, number 5, Miami crushed South Florida. So South Florida rolled in on the high of beating Florida.
Who got beat again?
Yeah, Florida. I think the hot seat has switched a little bit from Kentucky to Florida at this point.
Gainesville. Billy Napier is definitely looking down the barrel of something not so nice.
Yeah. Miami just annihilated South Florida yesterday, 49-12, and so that kind of makes you're kind of like, wow, how bad is Florida at this point? And another team I like to see lose, Clemson. Clemson lost yesterday.
You got a lot of teams you don't like.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Some of these guys. I think Dabo Sweeney. I think he's a whiner, so I like to see him lose. And Georgia Tech, what in the world? They're 3-0.
They wrecked my parlay. Thank you, Dabo.
But they kicked a 55-yard field goal as time expired to win that game 24-21. So that was pretty good.
We didn't mention really South Carolina. We mentioned South Carolina, but we didn't mention that they got crushed, did we?
Yeah. Oh, by Vandy. Yeah.
There's a guy that Kentucky fans love to hate.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer.
Yep.
Who, I hate to say it, but he's kind of got Kentucky's number.
Exactly.
They came in here last year in the second game of the season and just whipped Kentucky up and down the field.
Yeah, and he's got that old ball coach kind of aura about him as far as the way he handles himself in the game. He makes himself easy to hate in the way he.
His dad wasn't like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Frank wasn't
like that at all. Mm-hmm. I think Shane Beamer, likes to play the role of the kind of the bully a little bit. And, that's what he's doing.
Or the victim.
Yeah. Bama laid down another whipping on Wisconsin yesterday, 38-14. So I think losing that opening game may have been the best thing for them.
No,
to snap them out of whatever. Because
Bama is still Bama, and you just don't lose. I don't care if it's the first game. They're not into moral victories. So Gainesville may be hot, but believe me, I think Tuscaloosa's hot too.
Oh, yeah. They definitely have to – they got to win out. But watching I watched the bulk of that game yesterday, and they just seemed to be quite a bit more focused yesterday. And of course,
sure last
week, they played some nobody. So yesterday, playing a decent football team, they looked a little bit more impressive. Their offense was clicking. They were moving the ball pretty much at will against Wisconsin. So, lots of good college football on, and I haven't looked ahead for next week's schedule. We're recording on a Sunday, so there'll be some good games coming up this week, I'm sure, as we get into the bulk of the conference matchups and start to hit those. From a UK standpoint, probably the biggest news that came out this week is about the potential for the new practice facility / entertainment district, and I don't even really know where they're going with all this.
They're trying to come up with some creative ways, kind of like what South Carolina did. I've been to South Carolina on a number of occasions, and over the last 10 years, they've really upped their game in terms of what's going on around the stadium and stuff like that. And I just think Kentucky is trying to find streams of revenue, basically. They're talking about putting in a hotel in the area. It's all going to be right in that area. Basketball-related practice facility, which is going to be tied into UK healthcare. I'd heard that UK healthcare makes more. It's a nonprofit, so they make more money than they have uses for. So this is going to be one way of them spending the money, and then in return, athletes who use the facility are going to, that's part of their NIL. They're going to do stuff for UK healthcare. I'd heard that possibly putting that stuff over off of Cooper around the old UK practice area where the old Cliff Hagan Stadium was. So I'm not real sure where it's going to be, but in that general area, I think is where they're looking at, because there's some space there. But the ironic thing is the practice facility specifically was something that John Calipari came to Mitch about several years ago and said, we need this. we need this. We're the gold standard in college basketball. We need this to stay ahead of the pack. Since then, I think, Kansas has got a good place. There's some other schools that have practice facilities that are just a little bit better probably than the Joe Kraft Center.
Which is approaching 20 years old at this point.
Yeah, it's just hard to believe. I was just over there in that area today for a volleyball game. But Mark Pope comes in, plays nice with everybody, and suddenly Kentucky's getting a practice facility. Yeah. And I don't think it's related strictly to Mark Pope. I think it's NIL and just this new age of college athletics, and Kentucky needs more streams of revenue. So...
Well, and speaking of streams of revenue, I saw an article today that really opened my eyes, and I just didn't realize this, but the University of Kentucky Athletic Department is expecting to operate at a net loss of somewhere around $31 million over the next 2 fiscal years because of the balance of these payouts and things like that.
Yeah, because athletes were getting checks on July 1 for the first time.
Yeah.
So... And I think Barnhart kind of expected that. And if you remember, I don't remember what month or date it was specifically, but the UK Athletics Board asked the university for a loan.
Yes. $110 million.
To cover all of that. So, and I think Mitch said it would only be maybe 2 or 3 years that they would have to worry about that debt. And then, Kentucky is one of just less than 50, I believe. It's right at 50 schools in the country that actually make a profit in their athletics.
Yeah.
They don't, or they didn't previously up until what you just mentioned. UK previously had never had to go to the school and borrow money or have the school subsidize their athletic program.
Right. Yeah. I think at this point too, like you're saying, the school, has money that they have to do certain things with so that they don't show a profit, for one thing. So I feel like this is a good way for them to help the athletic department bridge the gap for when that money starts to come in from these other projects. So I think you'll see a lot of interesting stuff coming out of that. I still am in the camp of let's just throw a roof on Kroger Field, play basketball in there. We got all the parking out there. Put your entertainment complex, whatever you want to call it, out there. Just make Nicholasville Road even more congested than it already is.
UK fans are just going to hope that the parking doesn't disappear.
Right. That's the problem.
And that's another thing. At Kroger Field, if you've been to Kroger Field, you know that there's parking on almost 360 degrees all the way around the stadium. That is not the case for every stadium in the SEC or in this country.
Yeah.
Kentucky is very lucky that they have as much property as they do adjacent to the stadium, because parking is pretty easy at Kroger Field.
Yeah, and up until it's been, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, you could drive over to the field on game day and any vacant parcel of grass was a free spot to set up and tailgate.
Yeah.
Now they've since roped a lot of those spots off and those kind of things. But yeah, back in the day, anything green, it was fair game, and people took full advantage of it. And I think that makes for a good time when everybody can just party wherever. But anyway, UK Sports Hall of Fame induction was this weekend.
And UK's distinguished alumni on the same night. And the reason I bring that up is a guy I used to work with, Michael Eaves, who's now on ESPN. You see him. He's probably he and Scott Van Pelt are probably their two best golf guys. Mm-hmm. Michael is always at the Masters, and he even said the other night he had a reception that I attended that he gets paid to cover the Masters. And he's in Butler Cabin doing interviews with, the greatest golfers on the planet. But yeah, he was part of 20 people who were saluted as distinguished alumni. And he worked at KYT with me, gosh, I want to say in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
And then eventually found his way to ESPN, and he's been on SportsCenter for 15 years, maybe
something like that. And full disclosure,
just signed a 5-year deal Friday. He re-upped with ESPN with a 5-year deal.
So yeah, and that's like you're saying. I mean, he along with Scott Van Pelt, two of the most recognizable personalities on ESPN, mm-hmm. and so that's a pretty lucrative deal for him, I'm sure. I'll be the first to admit, when Michael Eaves was in Lexington covering local sports, I was not a fan.
Michael was young. He literally had just graduated from UK, and they had offered him a job. And I will give this to Michael. He was full of piss and vinegar, as they say, and wanted to do whatever they asked him to do. Wanted to be in sports. Made himself into a sports reporter and a producer, and then eventually an anchor. Still had a little bit of that southern drawl because he's from the western part of Kentucky. But, he has been around, has honed his craft, as they say. And I would put him up in his golf coverage against anybody on any network.
Yeah, and I would agree now. I mean, like I said, you said it best, honed his craft, because mm-hmm. I feel like he's just a completely different guy to listen to now. And that's just that. I think most people, if they put any work into their work at all, that's going to be the case. You're going to get better at what you do. And he's definitely an example of that for somebody who started out locally and has advanced his way up to the, pretty much the pinnacle as far as if you're going to be a sports reporter / anchor, making it to ESPN and doing events like the Masters has got to be high on the list. But yeah,
and then the UK Sports Hall of Fame you mentioned, Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, the number 1 pick in the draft is I think a 5-time NBA All-Star. Mm-hmm. And if you know him away from the court, just one of the sweetest guys ever. Yep. I got to know him the 1 year he was here. I'll never forget the first time I think we did an interview with him. He was wearing a T-shirt that had a logo of the McDowell's from Coming to America that looks like the McDonald's logo. And I go, I think I've told you the story. I rattled off a couple of lines from the movie, you know, like, Mama call him Clay, I'm going to call him Clay. He goes, how do you know that movie? I go, dude,
Everybody,
come on. So we kind of, you know, he probably doesn't know my name, but he knows my face.
Yeah.
Saw him at the draft that year, that draft following his 1 year here, and he walks up, gives me a hug, you know, and takes pictures and all that. Just a sweet guy. Josh Hines Allen, who we've talked about here, you know, recently because of his son, but arguably, you know, one of the 5 best defensive players that has ever played at Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think he's still the all-time leader in sacks. Was a 1-star coming out of New Jersey, and his only offer, I think, was Monmouth.
Yep.
And he, like I said before, is probably the poster child for Mark Stoops in the recruit and develop aspect of football. Doug Flynn, who is a friend, you know, won a couple of World Series with the Big Red Machine. Loves to tell the story how he was traded for Tom Seaver, and Doug said that he asked someone from the Reds, he goes, straight up? and it was like, yes. And he goes, you mean it's just me for Tom Seaver? I mean, he took great pride in that.
Yeah.
Won a Gold Glove. You know, his nickname is the Glue for a reason.
Yeah.
Let's see, Sonia Hahn, tennis player. Abby
Cheek Ramsey from the softball, and Michaela Epps. Women's basketball.
Michaela Epps,
so the Epps family got a lot of history at UK in the basketball world.
Her dad was a member of that '96 national championship team, Anthony Epps. So that's a good class.
Yeah, solid.
Unfortunately, you know, they all stayed around. They were inducted on Friday. The official induction was Friday night. They all stayed around for the football game, which is kind of a traditional thing. But Karl and Josh weren't there. Josh had a game today against the Bengals. He plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm not sure what Karl-Anthony was doing. But I was kind of hoping I'd get to see both of those guys. I did see Josh 2 weeks ago. UK flew him back to honor his son, Wesley, who just recently was given a clean bill of health after battling some cancer. And I got to say hi to Josh. He walks up and he, again, doesn't know my name, but I've been around long enough that they know the face, thankfully. And that was cool. Very cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Speaking of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Bengals, that game was earlier today, and the Bengals, worst fear realized. Joe Burrow goes down in the second quarter.
I'm telling you, I like to say he's been Bengalized.
Yeah,
he's been hurt, 3 years straight now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I think I saw on Twitter that he had gone down with an ankle. They're saying it's more like a turf toe kind of thing. So he got his foot kind of turned up weird under him, but they said he was using a knee scooter and that kind of thing. So, you know, that happens in the second quarter. Backup QB Jake Browning comes in and goes 21 for 32, throws 3 picks, 240 passing yards. But he did throw 2 touchdowns and then led the Bengals on a 15-play, 92-yard drive and scored on a 1-yard tush push, and they won.
Oh, my gosh.
They pulled it out. So,
and if you know anything about turf toe, that thing will linger all year.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
That's
he'll struggle. Yep, he will struggle.
That thing will linger all year long because it's – and the thing is, you know – if it's in your foot, it's the farthest thing from your heart. Yeah. So it's going to be a slow heal. Yeah. That thing might not be healed until the off season.
Yeah, that's too bad,
unfortunate
because, you know, like you said, I mean, it's like the curse. Yeah. Your Cowboys pulled one out today, beat the Giants.
And our buddy Tony Wise was, you know, blowing me up how bad they were playing. And then suddenly, you know, our idiot kicker, he's not really an idiot because he's got a serious computer science degree. He was a programmer, so he was actually, you know, doing all that kind of stuff before he decided he wanted to be a pro kicker. He was a pro soccer player. But, kicks a 64-yarder and then a game winner from like 50.
Yeah, 64 to tie it up as time expired, and then 46-yarder to win it in overtime. So I didn't watch the –
Well, like Mark Stoops, I'll take a Dallas win any way I can get it.
I didn't watch the Jerry Jones post-game press conference, so I don't know what he had to say about it. But the Lions got right today, even their record up 1-1 by beating the Bears 52-21.
Well, when your quarterback's wearing sorry.
The Seahawks beat the Steelers 31-17, and I guess everybody who thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to immediately take the Steelers to the Super Bowl, they might be thinking a little differently now.
The Seahawks are terrible.
Yeah, Darnold threw for right at 300 yards. Aaron Rodgers 18 for 33, 200 yards, a TD, and 2 picks.
Well, you know what's going to happen there? He's going to get Mike Tomlin fired.
Yeah, you might be right.
A buddy of mine who is a Steelers fan said it's time for Tomlin to go. Gosh, that guy's been there 20-some years.
He has, and I mean, they always talk about the fact that he's never had a losing season and all that. And I'm like, yeah, but he really hasn't done anything else either.
He's never had this guy as his quarterback either.
So I don't know. I mean, there are times I get it that these high level athletes like this, the level of competitiveness you have in your heart, you want to continue. You don't want to go out, and there aren't many guys who are going to, pull a Barry Sanders and just say, "I'm peace out. I'm going to leave on my terms when I'm still at the top of my game."
I would love to be a fly on the wall because nobody likes Aaron Rodgers.
Right?
How does this guy operate in the locker room? Go do your ayahuasca and get out of here.
Yeah.
Some guys don't know when it's time to leave.
Right. I just feel like that's it.
I thought he should have left before last year.
Right.
When he was trying to find a home and the Jets took him.
Yeah.
That was a bad mistake.
Yeah. You got to understand when it's possibly over.
Yes. You got to let go of the pride, man.
Yeah.
You got to walk away and save your legacy.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
But the last 3 years have not been good.
Yeah. Speaking of Hall of Famers, Patrick Mahomes
You're getting good at these
is going to be in the Hall of Fame for sure. But the Chiefs go down again today to Philadelphia, and that leaves them at 0-2. First time since I think they said 2014 that the Chiefs have started 0-2.
They remind me of the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Great run. They had a great run. And then suddenly you look up and they're all old because they haven't made enough moves or signed enough guys. Now, Patrick Mahomes is not old.
Right.
But all the parts around him are getting old.
Right. He's the Steph Curry of that equation.
Yes.
When these guys were getting old around Steph Curry and getting injured, they weren't making the moves to, and much the same way the teams that LeBron James has played for, they just think they can just bring in some random used to be good old guys.
Draymond Green is old,
Yeah.
They got rid of
Klay Thompson.
They got rid of the other Splash Brother.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you've got 2 old guys out there with a bunch of misfits because they haven't drafted well or traded well or signed anybody. Yeah, I feel like Kansas City, they'll right the ship because Andy Reid is arguably the best coach in the game right now.
Sure.
But, starting out, 0-2 for the first time in
10 years, 11 years. Yeah, they've got to make some moves.
They can still win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they may.
Yeah.
They just might.
Yeah, I mean, because even though that game was 20-10, and all of a sudden Mahomes throws a back foot 65-yarder for a touchdown, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. They've got 3 minutes left, but Philadelphia hung on and I think won it by 3. It'll be interesting to see what they do because they, like you said, they're getting old, and you definitely don't want to be sitting around wasting Patrick Mahomes.
No.
That's for sure.
No.
So
and
they're gonna have to.
Philly is looking like every bit of the Philly of last year which won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Green Bay won today. They beat Washington 27-18, and looks like Jordan Love might be the guy. You know, he's playing.
He's kind of rounding into like a young Patrick Mahomes, or
19 for 31, right at 300 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. Played a solid game today. So
he's got my edge rusher too.
Yeah. Now, did you see the news about the Cowboys today? They fixed the Micah Parsons thing.
How?
They
Is
signed,
this a joke?
No, it's not a joke at all. They signed Jadeveon Clowney.
He's 50.
I think that was. I said I didn't watch Jerry Jones' press conference, but I think he did announce that in his.
I don't know how old Jadeveon Clowney is, but he's been in the league 15 years at least.
Yeah. So
I hope he's got something left in the tank.
Yeah, I saw that and I was kind of like, oh wow, I'm pretty sure.
Zadarius Smith is back in the league.
Yeah,
he signed. Now I wish I hadn't brought it up because I can't remember who he signed with. I went down a rabbit hole though to see how much like he and Bud Dupree. These are two former UK defensive ends, linebackers. I think Zadarius has made almost $100 million in the league.
Yeah,
and Bud has made almost $90 million. It's just nuts, man. These guys, Mark Stoops guys, defensively have done very well for themselves.
Yeah,
not to get back on the UK train,
right? And that's the thing. And we've talked about this before. UK has had some incredibly talented position players over the years. We've just never had enough of them at the same time and enough to back it up. But yeah, Clowney, I was just double checking. But yeah, we made him seem like he's really old, but he's only 32. But it seems like he's been in the league forever.
How long has he been? I bet he's been in the league at least
11
years.
Yeah, he was first overall pick in the 2014 draft. Houston Texans took him. But he has been with the Texans, the Seahawks, the Titans, the Browns, the Ravens, the Panthers, and now the Cowboys. So good luck to him. We thought Jerry was saying that we were just one good defensive player away. So
here we go.
They'll plug him in.
Okay.
But all right, sports-wise, how much longer are we? 2 weeks still from the Ryder Cup? Is that right?
I honestly don't know.
Well, I think the Ryder Cup is
what the schedule is for the Ryder Cup
month. Yeah, it's Friday the 26th through Sunday the 28th. So we got 2 weeks for that. I've been kind of, even though I don't play golf anymore, got too old and decrepit. I'd like to get back to it someday. But anyway, I still love to watch it. And the last couple of weeks I've been doing some audiobooks. I went on a run there where I was listening to audiobooks about serial killers, and I thought, man, I need to lighten the mood a little bit. So I pulled up some golf books, and I listened to one 2 weeks ago called The Match, and it was about the match between Hogan and I'm forgetting who his partner was, but they played two amateurs. It was two of the top professionals at the time, one of which was Ben Hogan, and playing against Ken Venturi and another amateur. And the interesting thing about that matchup was there's almost no official account of it because it was put together under the cloak of darkness, basically, and they even went so far as to tell everybody that Mr. Hogan and so-and-so would be playing at a course like 20 miles down the road. And then by the time everybody figured out there was this high-profile match going on, at the other course, and just it's not like nowadays where everybody gets on their cell phones. We're talking in the early 50s. But interesting book. So then that made me I listened to an autobiography just on Ben Hogan. And, he's arguably one of the top 5 or 6 players to ever play the game.
Could you imagine those guys playing today with the types of equipment and technology involved? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I mean,
it just struck me like those guys, even Jack Nicklaus, if Jack Nicklaus played today, how good they would be. Yeah. Because their numbers are unbelievable to begin with. Yeah. Playing with, persimmon woods and
I mean they're playing with
wooden shafts.
What accounts to compared to today's equipment, I mean, Ben Hogan was smacking it around with an aluminum pie pan and on a hickory stick, but
a feather ball.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just interesting to listen to the story about Ben Hogan, because he wasn't a very nice dude. I mean, he wasn't
like a Ty Cobb-ish.
Yeah, he wasn't overly friendly. He had a little bit of a smart ass kind of thing about him. Somebody would say, Mr. Hogan, what's it going to take to win the Masters? And he's like, shoot the lowest score. That would be his response, which, true. But he wasn't big on pleasantries with people, and he just had this aura about him. And he's known as one of the greatest, I guess, just tacticians in all of golf. The way he practiced, his practice was legendary. But his overall perception by the golfing public didn't change until he was almost killed in a car accident in the early, like 49 or 50. Literally was thought he may not ever walk again, and won, I think, a major 18 months after the car accident. So at that point, the general public kind of took him in as, a hero. Anyway, interesting book. Kind of cool just to hear those stories and the interaction between, like, he and Arnold Palmer didn't get along at all. He and Jack Nicklaus got along late in his career when Jack was just coming on the scene, but a lot of players didn't care for him. So still one of the greatest of all time.
Sure.
But it'll be fun to watch the Ryder Cup here in a couple weeks. We've said it before, one of our favorite events.
It's the best event I've ever covered in my life, and I've said it here before. It's everything on a golf course that you're not supposed to do. The cheering, the booing.
It's the only time where the Phoenix Waste Management Open gets to get into the mainstream.
Exactly. And the European fans who come over to this country, dress in like traditional garb and costumes, and it is so much fun. I covered the one that was at Valhalla. It was a blast. Yeah. It was an absolute blast. It was so much fun, and those guys are very loose at this thing, because they want to win so badly that and it's a team sport kind of thing where they're high-fiving and fist bumping and pumping.
Some personality come out in some of these players that don't normally show much emotion.
Like a Boo Weekley running down the fairway on number 1 at Valhalla with a golf club between his legs like he's riding a horse and whipping it,
Well, and I'm hoping, I said I'm kind of questioning the makeup of our team a little bit, just because I'm being a armchair quarterback again, hating on some of these young guys, but maybe having some of these young guys on the team, maybe that's what we need to get us fired up and go out there. The Europeans always come to this event unified, and it seems like they're able to put a beat down on the United States.
Seems that way.
It seems like they're just united in their goal, and that's to win. And sometimes you feel like the Americans are just like, they're just mailing it in. So
they've already made so much money. It's like, okay. I'll get on my private jet and fly home.
Yeah, so hopefully these young guys, these rookies, will come in with some fire in their belly, and they'll get it done for us.
Hope so.
Another fun event, big event, switching gears to music, is in our neck of the woods over in Louisville. This weekend was the big Bourbon and Beyond music festival, which has become one of the larger music festivals in the United States. Really, they're going to be well over 200,000 fans for 4 days. Just monster lineups every day. Friday night, I think Fish played a couple of sets,
and they were the only band given a 3-hour window, by the way, for a reason.
Yeah, and they played 4 songs, I think, in that 3 hours. That's a typical Fish show right there. They'll play about 4 songs in 3 hours. Last night was the night that I really wanted to go, but I just got way too much going on here. But Jack White was one of the final 2 headliners. Sturgill Simpson was the headliner. Jack White was right on the bill below him. Right below them was Ringo Starr, and that would have been a pretty impressive thing to get to see. I've never seen Ringo Starr,
Yeah.
but I did see some highlights today. Apparently Jack White and his band got on stage prior to their set along with Ringo and did some Beatles songs. So that would have been pretty impressive. I had a little bit of FOMO there, fear of missing out for that, for sure.
And I think I told you I had heard from a couple of people that Vincent Boone, who is this up and coming, he's really
the kid that turns the flips, right?
And apparently he did like 5 or 6 of these things, including one where he jumped off the edge of the stage, flipped off the edge of the stage. I'm not a big Benson Boone fan. I know a couple of his songs if I hear them.
Yeah.
I think he's very popular with the YouTube crowd.
Yeah.
So, or not the YouTube crowd. I'm sorry, the TikTok fans.
Yeah.
And
anyway,
anyway.
there were, tonight's headliner is Noah Kahan, and he's another guy who's really blown up over the last few years. I mean, my kids have both seen him once or twice, and like just maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, they saw him at a venue of maybe 1,000 people or something. And now he's headlining in front of 60,000 plus. So that's a fairly big leap in your popularity scale, I guess. But the rest of today's lineup, actually, you and I probably would have loved it because it was a lot of bands like the Gin Blossoms and Spin Doctors and bands from the late 80s, early 90s that would have definitely been right in our wheelhouse. Foreigner was there, which Foreigner doesn't have a single original member anymore. I think they're just a really good cover band, basically.
Sure.
But they apparently can still tour and market themselves as Foreigner.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. So, but yeah, that's the music thing, and Louisville will remain.
I was going to
the
say
center of the music universe next weekend.
Yeah, because it's just one more 4-day festival coming in, Louder Than Life, which is I think it's become like maybe the largest hard rock
metal
festival in America. And this year's lineups, the lineup of these bands it's gone to like some serious heavy metal.
Yeah.
Last year or a couple of years ago, you and I saw the Foo Fighters over there.
And Weezer, Foo Fighter and Weezer, and neither one of those bands would make the cut this year.
No,
this year's lineup.
they're not hard enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of those bands that scream, and I'm an old man shaking my fist at the cloud, but I don't. I don't.
Slayer,
and I would even. To me, Slayer is maybe one of the more tame ones compared to some of the bands that are going to be there this year. But, so for 2 consecutive weekends, Louisville, Kentucky is kind of the center of the music universe a little bit for live stuff. I don't have any – my music this past week was made up of last Sunday I went over to University of Louisville, got to hear my youngest daughter sing with the university singers and their choir. They've got a couple different choirs they sing in. So that was a lot of fun. Going to U of L notwithstanding, but I'll do that. I'll do that to support my daughter. That was a lot of fun. And I'm really going to take it on the chin next weekend when I actually go to a University of Louisville football game for Parents Weekend. So
are you wearing blue?
I've been threatened with a divorce if I try to wear UK blue. And I said, well, I don't own any U of L gear. I've said you'd be wasting your money to buy me U of L gear. So I said I'll just go neutral. I might wear white or black. That way it might be perceived that I'm supporting the Cardinals. But, there won't be any. I mean, you're talking to somebody who, when my kids went to Scott County High School, whose mascot was the Cardinal, I would have a local seamstress on all my stuff that said Cardinals. I would have them stitch Scott County above it so that there would be no misconception about
Can I
which
ask you
Cardinal.
A question?
Yeah.
Where'd you graduate from high school?
Scott County. Yeah.
And the mascot was what?
Yeah, it was a Cardinal. It's the same, and it's the same Cardinal that
Just
U of L
checking.
uses, and doesn't matter. I distinctly remember as a 16-year-old sophomore in high school, cheering for the Duke University Blue Devils to beat Louisville in the 1986 national championship basketball game. Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Louisville
Nervous
won
Purvis.
that.
Never nervous.
But
Purvis.
so I mean,
Ellison.
Of course, then that was before the hatred between University of Kentucky and Duke ran as deep as it does now. But I still, if Duke is playing Louisville, I'm not going to be upset when Duke wins. I just don't cheer for them. So, but I'll be at that football game, whether I like it.
Who do they play?
I think Bowling Green. So it'll be
You can wear some brown and orange.
Well, I asked about that. I asked what color the other team was supposed to be wearing, and I was told I couldn't do that either.
Brown and orange.
So anyway, So
That's funny.
that'll be fun. But at least I don't know exactly.
Taking one for the team. There's nothing wrong with that.
I hadn't really thought about that. So we're going to be in Louisville, along with all of the Louder Than Life crowd.
Yeah. In the same general vicinity.
Yeah, that's going to suck, actually. That's really going to suck.
You might run into some traffic issues.
That's going to suck worse than just going to a U of L football game is being in the middle of all that.
Because you can't be there or because of traffic?
Oh, because of everything. That's just all going to be bad. That's the first time that's hit me, actually. That's a revelation happening right here in the middle of this recording. But anyway, music-wise, Louder Than Life is going to screw things up. I don't have anything else music-wise. I bought a bunch of records, and I guess I was due a record deal that kind of backfired, and I bought some records on a Facebook marketplace ad, and I'll be lucky if I break even on this bunch because there was some garbage in there for sure.
We don't need to disclose where you got them then.
Yeah, they were not.
Did you tell me about this one?
I told you I was going to go pick them up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there's a few interesting things in there, but I took the bulk of them. I went through them like the day after I got them picked up, and literally boxed the rest of them up and took them to Goodwill and just dropped them off. There's a lot of records in there that I wouldn't buy at Goodwill. I don't know if anybody will pick these up at Goodwill, but anyway, if you go into the local Goodwill and you see a bunch of records there, don't get all excited because I left them there and they're terrible. So anyway, not good. Hopefully the next
live and learn.
Yeah. I mean
you roll the dice.
Let's face it. I mean, I've come across some really good deals, so I can't complain.
Well, and people can post pictures to make them look,
they can make them look
nice. And then when you pull the vinyl out of the sleeve, it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
Got run over by a rototiller.
Yeah, and then sometimes you pull it out of the sleeve, and it's not even the record that's supposed to be in the sleeve. So some of those were in there. There were a few. They weren't good ones that were going to be in there, but still, I just was looking at general condition on a lot of them, and they just weren't. They weren't great. So anyway,
jeez,
you took the L on that. Can't win them all. Yep, I definitely took the L on that. So anyway, shifting gears to a little bit of food. I don't have a whole lot. We'll probably be eating out a lot this week. My wife and I are getting moved down here to the basement for a week or a little over while our floors get done upstairs. So we can cook down here, but it's kind of inconvenient. So we'll probably be eating out quite a bit. So next week I'll probably have a lot to talk about. Okay. This week I didn't do a whole lot. One of my days at work this week, I did go to Big Kahuna BBQ, which I've talked about on here before. Hawaiian barbecue. I don't really know what differentiates Hawaiian barbecue from regular barbecue, but I got their pulled pork plate, and one of their sides is this sticky rice that they put some sort of spicy sauce and an eel sauce on it. Really good. And their fries are awesome. They do a Hawaiian style fry where they use those same sauces. Those are good. And then we went to one of the local Mexican joints here just a couple nights ago, Mi Casita, and I did the shrimp chimichanga, which is always good. And it's always a lot, man. I go in there thinking, I'm really, really hungry. And then by the time you eat, 10 baskets of chips and then get your chimichanga and drink a big beer or something like that. Come out of there, they got to roll you out, but it's a lot for sure. But anyway, hopefully next week we'll both have something maybe a little bit more interesting to talk about on the food spectrum. Yeah. Beer-wise, we've got this is another one from my friends over in Louisville. I think last go around, we were drinking something from Atrium, and this is another one from them. This is called Tropical G. It is a Goza, which we've talked about these before. They're tart, sour, sometimes a little bit salty, but this one's infused with passion fruit, tangerine, and guava. So
I can get the hint of salt here.
Yeah, definitely. That's a typical style of Goza, and they
it's good though.
Like I said, Atrium, they do everything well, and I love guava in beers. Especially as fruited sours. So I was over there when I was in Louisville over the weekend to hear Bella sing. She lives less than a mile away from Atrium, so that will come in handy over the next 2 years while she's in that house. But this was a good one. And we've got another one I'm going to save. We'll do next week maybe from them unless I pick up something different between now and then. But one more Atrium beer that is pretty interesting. I think Steve will get a kick out of it. But until then, we'll enjoy the rest of this one and maybe try to see what kind of football game's going on over here beside us. I don't know who's playing right now, but until then, we'll enjoy the bye week, I guess, for Kentucky. Hope that they get healthy, and might give us an opportunity too to really sit down and I guess since there's no UK football, you maybe get, I don't know, you get a Saturday off, but.
Yeah, I am taking next Saturday off.
There you go. All right.
Yep.
Maybe you can actually watch some other games.
I hope so. I do enjoy this time of year, as you alluded to. College football might be my second favorite sport. I do love the NFL though.
Yeah.
But I love college basketball.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that and excited to see what Kentucky can do. I would like to mention this is episode 1 of season 2 for us. It's hard to believe we've got 36 of these now down. I think we're kind of getting into a rhythm and a groove.
Yeah,
I hope so. Anyway.
Yeah.
You can find us on all of the platforms for podcasts, including YouTube. We have a video version of this if you're interested. So yeah. It's been fun, and I look forward to, I don't know that we know what we're doing, but it's been fun.
It's fun. If nothing else, we get together and talk about things that we would normally talk about anyway when we see each other, and it gives us a good reason to focus on some stuff through the week and maybe pay attention to some stuff a little bit more. I think I find myself watching a few things, or at least kind of trying to make a mental footnote of things when I see it happen, or if I see something kind of funny, related to sports or music or whatever that might be. So
it's my occupation, but I do find myself a little more focused in on just taking mental notes. Heck, I've even pulled out the phone and actually taken notes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's something we can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're having a good time with it, and hopefully, I know a few people have found us out there because I look and see that there's people have watched it. And I know, I usually watch the YouTube version once after you post it, and then I don't watch it again. So at least somebody else is watching. So that's good.
There you go.
But anyway, until we get together again next week, get out there and cheer on your favorite team, or take one for the team by going and watching your arch rival play football like I'm going to do. And then we'll try to get something good to eat over there, try to avoid the louder-than-life traffic, which I hadn't thought about. And but until then, just get out there and enjoy whatever it is that floats your boat. And we'll see you next time.